So we're at the stage now where we want to start adding smoothies to our database. So in this video, we'll start to flesh out the add smoothie component, which will basically be a form. And when we click on this plus button over here, we'll show up that form component. So let's start by creating this new component over here. I'll go to new file and call this add smoothie.view. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a template tag, and we'll fill this in a minute. Then we'll do our script tag, which creates a default object for us. Inside here, we want a name. This name is going to be add smoothie, like so. We'll also create our data function, which, not date, data, which returns an empty object, like so. Okay, we'll also do a style tag at the bottom. Now, to begin with, what I'd like to do is just a h2 saying add smoothie. And the reason I'm doing this is because now I'm going to hook up this component with our view router. So I'd like to see something when we go to /add smoothie. So now we've done this, let's go to our router file inside the router folder, index over here, and we need to add on another route object. But before we do that, we need to import that component that we just created. So we'll say import, and then we want to import add smoothie from, and it's at /components /add smoothie. Okay, so now for the second object, the path will be /add -smoothie. So this is the URL a user will visit in the browser. And when they visit that, we want to load up a component, which is the add smoothie component. But first of all, the name of this route is going to be add smoothie. And then the component is going to be add smoothie. Okay, so now we have our route configured right here. So what we can do now is we can go to /add -smoothie, and that should show us this component. Cool. Now we want to get to this component whenever we click on this, so why not add that into our navbar? So let's go to our navbar component over here, and up here where we link to different things, this is the router link for that plus icon. So let us do some data binding so we can attach here an object, and we can pass through the name of the route that we want to go to. So the name is going to be add smoothie. All right, let's also do the same thing to this router link as well, so that it goes to the home page when we click on the title Ninja Smoothies in the top left, just while we're in it. So the name of this is index, like so. Okay, so let's save that and view this in a browser. I'm going to refresh, then I'm going to click on this to go to the home page, and that doesn't work, stupidly, because we've not passed these through in quotations. So we always need to pass the name property through in quotations when we're doing this. Press save, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this should now work. Yes, it does. When we go to the link in the top, it takes us to the home page. When we click on this, hopefully it should take us to this component. Awesome. So then now we need to start to flesh out this add smoothie component. So what do we want to do inside this template? We basically want to show some kind of form that the user can fill in and then add a smoothie. So first of all, let's do a div tag. And this div is going to have a class of add -smoothie. So we'll add that in. We'll also give this a class of container, like so. And inside this, what we'll do is a h2 with a class of center-align. So it's going to center align this text right here. And then we'll also give it a class of indigo -text. So inside this, we want to say add new smoothie recipe. Okay, so there's our h2, the title. Now we want that form. So let's do the form. First of all, we'll leave the action. In fact, we'll delete the action because we don't need one. We'll be handling the form ourselves inside a method down here later on. So inside the form, what we'll do is create a div first of all, and this div is going to have a class of field. So for every different field in our form, I'm going to surround it in this class just so we can style it up a little bit later on. We'll also give this field a title class because this is going to be the title of the smoothie. So for each field, we want a label and an input. So we'll do a label first of all, and this is going to be for title. Then we'll place in here smoothie title, like so. And then underneath, what we'll do is create that input, and the input is going to be of type text. The name is going to be title, like so. And we'll also give this a v-model equal to title, because what we want to do is take what the user types into this and store it into a data property, so that when we do send a request off to the database to add a new smoothie, we know what the data is. We have it stored here. So let's store that property title on the data object over here. It's going to begin as null, but when a user starts to type something in here, it will be updated with whatever value they type in. Okay, so after that, we want another field for our ingredients. So we'll create another div with a class of field, and this is also going to have a class of add-ingredient. Okay, so inside here we want a label, and this is going to be for add-ingredient, and the label text will be add an ingredient. Okay, so we also need an input for this, so we'll say input, and the type is text again. We also need to give this a name value of add-ingredient. Okay, now we're not going to attach a V model to this just yet, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But the next div we want to do is for the button at the bottom to actually add this smoothie. So we'll say div.field, and this field will center align so that the button is in the middle. So center align. Again, this is a materialized class. And then inside that div, we'll do our button. So button, and that's going to have a class of btn. And it's also going to have a class of pink to give it a pink background. And we'll say add smoothie. Okay, so now we have this general kind of component template here. Let's just save that and view it in a browser so far. Okay, so it looks okay. Doesn't look amazing yet. So let's just add a couple of styles to make it look a bit better. So in the style tag, what I'll do is target the add-smoothie, first of all. That is this thing right here, this div surrounding the whole thing. So we're targeting that first of all, and we'll say the margin from the top is going to be 60 pixels. Push it down a little bit from the nav. Then we'll give it a padding of 20 pixels all the way around. We're also going to give this a max width of 500 pixels, because I think before, if you look at this, it looks a bit wide. So let's give this a max width of 500 pixels. Save that and view it. Okay, starting to look a bit better probably. Now if we come down and do another rule, add smoothie H2, so that's the title. It looked a bit big, so we'll say font size is now 2Ms instead. And we'll also say the margin is 20 pixels top and bottom, auto left and right. So finally, we'll target these fields right here. So each one of these three things. And to do that, we'll say add-smoothie.field. And then inside this, we'll say margin is going to be 20 pixels top and bottom, auto left and right. We'll save that and view this in a browser. And now that is looking much better. Okay, so the reason I wanted to explain this a bit more later on is because we don't really know how many ingredients that a user is going to add. So far, we just have one field for it. I've just noticed this is spelt wrong, so I'll correct that in a minute. But we only have one field for it. Now, a user might want to input 4 ingredients. So how do we know? We can't just output 4 because they might only want 1, and vice versa. So we need to think about this a little bit more, and that's what we'll be doing in the next video. But that's the reason I've not attached a vModel directive to this, but I have to this. So let us just do a couple of things to finish up here. What I'd like to do is, first of all, correct that spelling mistake. Then I also want to attach an event to this form, because when they submit the form, we want to do something, don't we? Now, whenever a user clicks on a button, the default action of the form is to refresh the page. You can see I clicked on it then, and it refreshes the page. We don't want that to happen, so we want to prevent that. Now we can use a modifier to do that, remember. We learnt about those a couple of chapters ago. So we'll first attach an event to this form. So we say @ and then the event is going to be submit. So this is like saying v on submit. So when a user clicks on the button, it's going to submit the form and this event will fire. Now we want to prevent the default action here. We don't want it to refresh. So we can say dot prevent. We attach that modifier. So that's going to stop that now. Then we'll set this equal to some function. And this function is going to be called add smoothie. So then, now we need to create this function down in a methods property. We'll add that on. And inside here, we'll say add smoothie. This is a function. And for the time being, what we'll do is just log the title right here so we know it's working. So we'll say console.log this.title. Okay, so let's save this now. View this in a browser. I'm going to add a smoother title. So Mario Magic, add ingredient, banana, skin, and then add a smoothie. Now hopefully this shouldn't refresh the page, but it should log that title right here to the console. So let's take a little look at that. Yep, we can see Mario Magic right there. Okay, so we have the bones of our add smoothie component here. It's not hooked up to Firestore yet. We're not sending that data anywhere, and we still need to address this issue right here where we don't know how many different ingredients or how many different fields we should show for ingredients to a user. So we'll address this in the next video, and then we'll start to hook it up to our Firestore database.